Okay, let's start with the first module. The title is Non-Standard Employment and Pensions in Latin America and the Caribbean. We will be discussing new forms of work that come about due to global technological changes and how these impact pension design, including discussions on economy of behavior and the use of pilot experiments in this context. The moderator will be Alexander Scioli Fernandez. Alexander, could you come up, please? He's the General Coordinator of Statistics, Demography, and Actuary Sciences of the Brazilian Providence Secretary. Now we have he's also responsible for the elaboration of the statistic annuary of Social Security. He's also a professor in administration courses and accountability courses of the School of Technology and Social Sciences of UniCeub. He has a master on economy from the Fundação Getúlio Vargas. Together with Alexandre, we will have Lucas Keller. He's a consultant of the Division of Labor Markets of the IDB in Washington, D.C. Lucas, could you come up, please? His main work areas are to promote voluntary pension savings and institutional reforms of pension systems in the context of the agenda on the future world of work. Before coming into the Labor Market Division in 2016, he worked in BidLab, where he coordinated the work of the fund with regards to collection and financial inclusion. He also worked as an analyst and a researcher in institutions such as Dow Jones, the German Cooperation Institution, and the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. He has a master in political science and public administration of the University of Rutgers and Constance. We will also have Matthew Blackstar. He's in charge of he leads a program of research, analysis, and experimentation of behavior of Nest Insight. Before assuming this position, he was the director responsible for Nest Proposal in the UK, which today has 7 million members. Before that, he worked at the Department of Work and Pensions, where he developed strategies on public information for the reform of state pensions. Before that, he led in research and communication teams in PwC, Buck Consultants, and Talking People. He's also had publications of research. He's the author of novels such as Sock Puppet, Fallen Agent, and Lucky Ghost that explore the risks faced by citizens because of the new digital economy. And lastly, we will have in this module Maria Teresa Silva. She's a consultant in the Labor Markets Division of IDB and coordinator of the project Social Security Savings. She has been an advisor of the Secretariat of Work and Social Security in Mexico and as a director of political science and employment in the coordination of advisors of the President of Mexico. She has also worked in different international bodies such as CEPAL, the European Commission, and the German Cooperation for Development. She has a degree in economy for the University of the Americas, Puebla, and she also has public policies for the University of Oxford in the UK. Thank you, Alexander. Good morning, everybody. First of all, I would like to thank AIOS and the IDB for the invitation. This is a very important issue that we will be addressing today, which are the new ways of work that come to do with the new technological impact, with the need to maintain. Today we have the participation of experts in this module. Everybody will have 15 minutes for their presentation. Then we will have a Q&A session. To start, I would like to invite Mr. Lucas to start his presentation. You have 15 minutes. Thank you. It's an honor to share this meeting with all these experts and all our colleagues, and also to talk to you about how the countries of the region can use the new technologies to strengthen their pension systems in the region. I wanted to take the opportunity before I start, I wish to take a step back and give you an outlook of the top 10 questions that we have regarding the future world of work at the IDB, and also to give you a brief introduction on the challenges and opportunities that these intermediation technologies present for our social security systems in our region. And then we will go on to Matthew and Maria Teresa's presentations. The future world of work. A quick search online will show us that this is no marginal issue. Many international organizations and also private organizations have developed research programs in order to give responses to the governments and authorities as to how to take advantage of opportunities and mitigate the risks on this issue. So the IDB is not the only player that's looking at this, but we are the only ones that are having a very deep look, a very close look at this in the region. So what are the big trends with regards to the future world of work? The future world of work will be marked by two big trends. First of all, the old age population, and the other what we call the technological tsunami. In theory, both of these trends have a positive nature. The fact that we can live more years, also replacing repetitive jobs, and to improve our life quality. So in that sense, we see a very good opportunity for the region. But as we know, these also give us challenges, economic and social challenges that we have to face. So we will look at these two trends in more detail. All of us here today know that Latin America and the Caribbean are facing the challenge of old age population. That's nothing new for all of you. But what we are not very aware of is how fast this is developing, this process is developing. This graph shows the time in years that we have the old age population, how it increases from 10 to 20 or 30% according to the different region. So it makes it compares this old age population in the different regions. We can see that the time that it took the population older than 60 years old to double from 10 to 12% in North America, in Europe 60%, and in Africa 42 years. But in Latin American and Caribbean countries, that percentage that doubled for people over 65 years of age will happen in 28 years. So it's much less than in any other part of the world. So we have to find public policies to face this. Another thing that is not very much discussed is that the region will not only see an increase in aging population, people older than 65, but we will also increase the life expectancy of these people. So we will have to have more care here. And combined with the reduction in natality, in births, this will increase the size of the families, show us that we need to take actions to give opportunities to people so that they can have effective lives, effective working lives. We need to have better hedging and to adequate the pension funds, to invest in labor and technologies, and care for elderly people. The second trend, which will have a very strong impact on the future world of work, is technology, or the technological changes. One question that comes up very often when we talk about the impact of technology in the markets is how different will the technological revolution impact be with regards to the ones we saw at the end of the 19th century or beginning of 20th century. Even though there's no wrong answer, I think that this will have a very strong impact. But what's the difference of this fourth industrial revolution with regards to previous revolutions, which is the speed with which the innovations will be occurring and impacting our lives? Let's look at this. This graph shows the speed in adopting different technologies, innovative technologies, in the USA in the 20th century. If we look at the conventional telephone, at 56 years, for the conventional telephone to reach half of the households in the USA, while it took, since the first marketing of smartphones, it only took 2 decades for half of the population in the world to have a smartphone. And that's why we can really say that this is a technological tsunami. What took in the past 1 or 2 generations, now it's just happening very fast in very few years. And to understand the impact of these technologies on the labor markets and on social security systems, we need to remember that not all technologies are the same. Some have more immediate impact, and others have stronger impact, but in the long term. In practical terms, we can talk about 2 kinds of technology. On the one hand, we have the technologies that help to automatize tasks done by human beings, which include information technologies or ICTs or artificial intelligence. On the other hand, we have the different technologies that allow us to coordinate better the supply and demand economy, what we call intermediation technologies, which include platforms platforms like Uber, Cabify, or Workana, and Upwork. Both of these technologies have consequences and also bring about challenges for the regions. At the last part of my presentation, I will talk about these challenges and opportunities that intermediation technologies will bring us, because they are happening in a very fast pace in our region, and that will make us rethink many aspects of pension systems much faster than we had thought of. Then we can talk about the platform work, the rise of platform work. Is that a threat or is it good? Platforms provide benefits on productivity. They increase the amount of work and capital in the economy. For example, a person who had a talent before but didn't have a market to develop that, now that person will be able to offer his work to all the world through the platforms. Also, so what are the impact of those platforms? On the one hand, they can promote labor inclusion to eliminate barriers or obstacles for work. It can also create jobs for people who have a high flexibility market. We also have the aging population who are also looking for part-time jobs. This can also be found through these platforms. And then people can extend their effective working life. Then we also have positive impacts with regards to formalizing work. And these platforms create a link between suppliers and the government. And we can use these channels to communicate with the workers, also motivate them to contribute to the pension fund system or health system, whether it's mandatory or if they can choose. But it also has challenges. These platforms can also lead to precarious jobs. Because of transaction costs, these platforms look at the relationship between the employee and the company. This relationship becomes more diffused, and the workers, as we saw them in a traditional way, are changed. We also have challenges for social security systems, traditional social security systems, which had in mind having one working with a wage, with a fixed wage, and so it was an employee and an employer. This is something that is not the same today. And these trends also are seen by this economy of the platforms are leading to monopolization. So platforms are having stricter controls on the workers, but there are also more opportunities in order to lower standards of work in those platforms. And to finish by saying what must happen for the governments to take advantage of these platforms and social security systems. First of all, we need to make a greater effort to understand the reality of the workers in these platforms. We also want to know what percentage of the population is working in these platforms and what is the growth of these platforms. Other questions, such as, are the workers of the platforms using these technologies as their main income, or is it just part-time work? That will help us to understand, to have the right policies for pension funds. Also, the suppliers and authorities and governments should help to create the necessary infrastructure to foster the contributions to the social security systems. We have to have those players communicate correctly in order to create the social security system of the 21st century. And we have to create innovation spaces or sandboxes where we have the opportunity to identify the appropriate instruments for this. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to be here today.
No sé si me escuchan. Buenos días, mi nombre es Matthew Blackstad. Yo soy de una institución que se llama Nest Insight. Trabajamos con los fondos de la pensión de Reino Unido y les quiero hablar un poco sobre los empleados independientes en América Latina y el Caribe. Creo que tenemos muchos desafíos paralelos. Hay una percepción de que en Reino Unido tenemos una economía basada en relaciones de dependencia, y es verdad, pero en los próximos minutos les voy a mostrar que esta situación está cambiando muchísimo. Muchas de las cosas que hemos descrito se ven que están pasando también en Reino Unido poco a poco. Entonces, cuando pensamos sobre este sistema de contribuciones definidas que hemos hablado, eso empezó hace unos 20 años en el Reino Unido y ahora se ve mucho en las personas que están viendo esto en su mayor parte de ahorros. Esto lo hemos visto desde un sistema regulado del Reino Unido de este tipo de pensiones controladas. Pero tenemos muy baja participación en los mercados de trabajo. Entonces, hasta un punto, los retos que hemos visto no tienen que ver tanto con tienen más que ver sobre todo con el comportamiento. Entonces, eso creo que es el mayor reto de las políticas, tener esa cobertura universal que creemos que es importante para que los ingresos sean bien distribuidos en la pensión. Entonces, algunos trabajadores retirados en el Reino Unido están leyendo sobre información sobre todo este tipo de nuevas pensiones y las personas están yendo a este tipo de nuevos sistemas. Nosotros tenemos ahora 10 millones de personas que trabajan ya en este tipo de sistema y ya somos el tercer país que tiene más personas. Entonces, antes de la introducción de esto no teníamos tantas personas. Entonces, esto es muy importante porque el gobierno pudo introducir este sistema para tener este tipo de individuos que ahora somos 7 millones. Sin embargo, estos son casi todas personas en relación de dependencia. En Nest tenemos unas 7 millones de personas que empezó a trabajar con nosotros porque son patrones y tenemos otras personas, 7 millones de personas que empezaron como independientes. Entonces es una buena relación sobre la gran disparidad de la experiencia y empezamos a ver a las personas que están entre los trabajos formales y no formales. Para darles una idea del por qué esto realmente es importante, inclusive en Reino Unido, que supuestamente es un mercado muy formal de empleo, es que hemos visto muchos cambios. En 2012, disculpen, acá en el 2008, cuando fue el año donde empezó las contribuciones automáticas, se dieron muchas cosas en la economía en el momento. Entonces tuvimos el gran problema de la crisis económica. Y aquí todas las barras azules ven todos los trabajos en dependencia. Y en los amarillos se ven la parte de los independientes. Entonces, antes de la crisis, vemos una baja. Empezó a bajar en cuanto a las dependencias, pero luego también vemos el aumento de los independientes. Vemos acá que la línea sigue subiendo y que el mercado laboral empieza a crecer de nuevo. Y lo vemos como un nivel estático, que este nuevo independiente está ahí en la economía presente. Y eso ha sido un cambio bastante rápido para nosotros. Como esto pasó al mismo tiempo durante la crisis del 2008, el programa de reformas se implementó. No estábamos preparados para esa manera de distribución de las pensiones. Y la población independiente que trabaja independientemente es diferente también en cuanto a su propia experiencia del mercado laboral. Entonces vemos acá, por ejemplo, que la distribución de los independientes y los ingresos independientes, acá tenemos la línea amarilla son los independientes y los otros, los azules son los independencia. Y cuando vemos la experiencia de los ahorros, vemos en la parte derecha de la lámina, vemos que los independientes tienen unos 5 millones, entonces una gran proporción de personas. Es como una séptima parte de nuestra población activa. Entonces, parece bastante, pero muchos de estos activos son históricos. Muchas personas se han salido del mercado de dependencia para ir a la parte de independientes luego. Entonces, hay menos de 20% de las personas que están ahorrando hoy en día. Entonces, de nuevo, ¿quiénes son? Eso no lo tenemos bien distribuido. No sabemos exactamente quiénes son las personas que están ahorrando. De otra manera, también les queremos mostrar en este gráfico que aquí que tenemos la escala de la edad. Entonces, acá tenemos un aumento constante de los ingresos. Cuando comparamos con los empleados a tiempo completo, vemos que sí hay un crecimiento. Hay personas que tienen una experiencia fija con siendo independientes, pero les lleva más para poder aumentar sus propios ingresos. Obviamente es un problema porque en realidad las personas jóvenes son las que quieren ganar más dinero porque quieren construir su vida. Entonces, realmente esas personas tienen el contrario de lo que esperarían. Las personas que tienen un empleo a medio tiempo, entonces vemos acá que aumenta más hacia la edad avanzada. Esto cambia las distribuciones y es muy interesante el hecho en la derecha, que es decir, que muchos independientes profesionales están en el cuartil superior de la riqueza por hogares en cuanto a sus ingresos. Y entonces es realmente interesante. Esto se ve muy diferente en cuanto a la edad. Las personas de 20, 30 años que están en este auge, no tanto de este empleo independiente, sino estos empleos precarios, ven que sus niveles de ahorro son bastante bajos. Entonces, en este gran reto, en este desafío, hay muchos aspectos en el mercado laboral que nos hacen tratar de fomentar los ahorros voluntarios. Entonces, el problema acá también tiene que ver con el comportamiento, porque ese poco nivel de ahorro para el retiro afecta a las personas que tienen más dinero o menos dinero. Hay personas ahora que trabajan independientes que normalmente tienen empleos precarios y ganan menos, pero ahora también se revierten las cosas. Hemos trabajado muy de cerca con el Departamento de Pensiones y de Retiros en Reino Unido para poder entender todas las dimensiones psicológicas y laborales que podrían hacer una gran diferencia entre los comportamientos que vemos entre estos dos grupos. Y hay algunas cosas que son muy interesantes. Una que es muy interesante es que si usted es independiente y tienes varios ingresos, van a tener una prima mayor en la liquidez de sus activos. Entonces, normalmente no van a poner sus activos en un sistema de pensión que en el Reino Unido no se queda líquido hasta los 55 años. Entonces, tú te quieres quedar con ese dinero. Y otra cosa que es muy cultural en Gran Bretaña es que el tipo de activos normalmente favorece no los productos financieros, sino las propiedades. Entonces, capaz que quieren ver el valor de las propiedades, muchas veces van a comprar otras propiedades para usar las rentas como ingreso. Es algo que está sujeto a la inestabilidad del mercado de las propiedades. Y acá, cuando le preguntamos a las personas donde les prefieren ahorrar, muchas personas acá dicen, bueno, acá vemos la parte en naranja, tenemos un esquema de pensiones, otras personas, las que son independientes, tienen algo diferente, ellos normalmente invierten en las propiedades. Entonces, el gobierno que tenemos ahora, cuando está pensando sobre las cosas que se hacen en la Unión Europea, se enfoca actualmente en la pregunta de cómo podemos arreglar este desbalance. Y el gobierno actual, en su manifiesto, en la elección de 2017, intentó hacer esta inscripción automática para los independientes. Pero esto es un reto porque eso se ve muy difícil para hacer. Porque cuando hablamos sobre esta inscripción, ingreso, registro automático, eso quiere decir que los independientes tienen que trabajar muchísimo y hacer mucho trabajo. Normalmente eso lo hace el patrón en lo tradicional. Entonces, cuando hablamos de este registro o inscripción automático, quiere decir que en cada cheque que les dan al mes, ustedes, sus patrones, toman ese dinero y lo invierten en el plan, pero sin que ese patrón sea el agente, la persona que está registrándolo, es difícil ver cómo sería este registro automático, cómo sería realmente todo esto. Entonces, muchas de las propuestas que se han visto tienen la idea de que cuando los independientes llegan al final del año fiscal, tienen que declarar sus ingresos al equivalente al DGI en Uruguay y bueno, ahí podemos introducir algunas deducciones, capaz algunos voluntarios, otras obligatorios. Ellos tienen que pagarlo como parte de su experiencia impositaria, pero eso no ha sido popular. Y tampoco tiene que ver mucho con la regularidad del comportamiento de las contribuciones. idealmente se querría hacer por mes o por semana. Entonces, estamos buscando soluciones ahora que no son parte de este enfoque formal. Y al hacer esto, básicamente identificamos el hecho de que estas personas que son independientes son muy diversas. Ellos tienen diferentes tipos de ahorros. Cada grupo es diferente. Por ejemplo, podemos identificar diferentes características de los trabajadores independientes en cuanto a sus ahorros. Pueden ser personas que ahorran, que están confiados, personas que luchan y tienen preocupaciones, otros que se cuestionan cosas y otras personas que viven el día a día. Entonces tienen que ver con sus propias responsabilidades para ahorrar y ver la volatilidad en su experiencia de gasto. Es decir, saber qué es lo que es para hoy, qué es lo que hay para mañana. Y algo que vimos en todos estos grupos es que hay cosas muy consistentes en todos. La primera cosa, la primera misión que queremos llevar a cabo como parte del programa de pruebas y experimentar con diferentes intervenciones que podrían ayudar a fomentar, a tener mayor ahorro, es una estrategia donde simplemente se vea el impacto potencial de los diferentes marcos y las oportunidades para ahorrar de diferentes maneras. Y este es un enfoque que hemos visto que ha tenido éxito en otros mercados, algunos trabajos que se han hecho en México. Hemos visto esto muy de cerca para llevarlo a cabo. Y lo pensamos porque hay algunos temas bastante comunes. Muchos de los trabajadores independientes tienen un control y flexibilidad normalmente. Ellos hablan mucho sobre el ahora y el aquí, no piensan tanto en el futuro. Hablan sobre la accesibilidad, de la liquidez y la simplicidad. No quieren un sinsentido, tienen una mentalidad pragmática, quieren productos claros. Y una cosa que se sugiere, capaz que esto no tiene que ver con la demanda, sino con el comportamiento, capaz no hemos diseñado un sistema de pensiones correcto, capaz puede ser el mensaje, la naturaleza de los productos que estamos ofreciendo. Y bueno, lo segundo tiene que ver sobre los mecanismos y las soluciones que las personas podrían ayudar a las personas a ahorrar. Vamos a hablar un poco sobre esto, pero básicamente tienen que ver sobre las soluciones tecnológicas para tener contextos de ahorro fáciles, para que ellos puedan calzar en sus estilos de vida. Primero vamos a hablar sobre los mensajes. Podría parecer poco probable que digamos, bueno, es una buena idea ahorrar ahora, pero les voy a mostrar algo, un ejemplo de un psicólogo del comportamiento que está trabajando con nosotros y en Estados Unidos se vio con los independientes. Simplemente era fomentar a las personas para hacer una contribución regular en su cuenta de ahorro. Entonces, les voy a mostrar lo que pasó con toda la población. Básicamente, los dividieron en 3 grupos. Uno, se les dio el mensaje de que tenían que ahorrar $150 por mes en sus cuentas. El segundo era $35 por semana. Y el tercer grupo se les dijo que ahorraran $5 por día. Y bueno, si ustedes son matemáticos se van a dar cuenta de que es lo mismo. Entonces, desde un punto de vista racional, diríamos que el comportamiento es el mismo, pero no lo fue así. Y este es el resultado de esos 3 diferentes mensajes. Entonces, todo lo que tiene que ser simple, ustedes seguramente, las personas que ganan menos, capaz se veían más atraídos a los de 5 días. Pero bueno, vamos a ver acá sus ingresos. Acá tenemos 2 tipos de ingresos en 2 poblaciones. Teníamos uno que era menor a 25,000 y otros que tenían más de $100,000 de ingreso. Entonces acá pueden ver, como ustedes esperan, que los que tenían que ver con los 150 meses era más difícil tenerlos para las personas que ganaban menos. Entonces especulamos cómo podría ser diferente el mensaje en cuanto a los 5 días, $5 por día. Y es lo contrario. En realidad acá solo hay un % de diferencia, pero igual tenemos el costo relativo de $5 por día a las personas que ganaban menos de $25,000 al año comparados a los de 100,000. Entonces, hay muchos casos importantes sobre las intervenciones del comportamiento que tienen un impacto importante y profundo. Sin embargo, nosotros sabemos que los mensajes por sí solos no son suficientes. La idea es que las personas quieran hacer algo. Normalmente si simplemente esperamos no lo van a hacer, porque hay que sacar la fricción, las barreras. Entonces, simplemente tenemos que poner a las personas, darles una solución. La idea entonces, darles opciones, es lo contrario a lo otro. Eso es contrario a la inscripción automática. Nosotros no podemos hacer esto. Por ejemplo, las personas que son independientes porque no hay patrones, pero hay otros agregadores, por así decir, otras organizaciones intermediarias, que es lo que se había sugerido, que pueden tomar el papel del patrón. Entonces, estas son organizaciones que trabajan con los contratos de empleados o de independientes, pero sobre todo con la nueva economía, la tecnología y todo esto, ellos tienen un papel muy importante en la vida de las personas, pero no necesariamente todo lo que tiene que ver con las plataformas de trabajos rápidos, sino porque hay muchas personas en Reino Unido que trabajan en estas plataformas de trabajos a destajo. Entonces, por ejemplo, muchas veces se hacen descuentos por las tarjetas de créditos o débitos cada vez que ellos tienen ingresos, ellos trabajan en nubes, manejan dinero y tenemos otros tipos de formas de plataformas que le dan a los independientes acceso al mercado de trabajo. Pueden ser estas plataformas, como les he dicho, o pueden ser de reclutamiento. Entonces se está haciendo un consorcio de estas organizaciones para desarrollar maneras en las que se puedan introducir estas maneras para que en el momento que las personas se vayan a una plataforma de trabajos, hay un punto donde se les pregunta, ¿a ustedes les gustaría hacer contribuciones para su pensión? Y ahí aprendemos a través de las pruebas. Vamos a empezar a lanzar todo esto para saber si esto va a tener un impacto significativo. Pero bueno, eso creo que es el mensaje que quería darles y esta es una de las razones por la que estoy acá. Y creo que hay muchísima innovación importante que se está haciendo en esta parte del mundo y queremos también aprender qué es lo que ha sido exitoso, tomar esas lecciones e introducirlos en nuestra vida. La idea es que podemos saber si funciona o no. Y para terminar, quería ver explicar lo que queremos probar. Nosotros podemos fomentar a que las personas hagan esto. Podemos hacer que las personas contribuyan automáticamente en vez de estar buscando contribuciones individuales. Y la naturaleza del producto es importante. Necesitamos más liquidez, más accesibilidad en estos productos para que vaya bien con los independientes. Vamos a hacer una prueba, un periodo de prueba. Va a ser como un paquete de soluciones listo que va a funcionar para la economía de los trabajadores independientes. Y bueno, cuando hayamos aprendido todo esto, espero venir y decirles todo lo que hayamos aprendido. Así que hasta ahora, muchas gracias.
Hola, ¿qué tal? ¿Me escucha?
Can you hear me? Is it on? Okay. I'm very happy to be here today to talk about one of the initiatives of the Laboratory for Pension Funds. We presented this 1 year ago at the AIOS meeting in Panama, where I was very pleased to see many of you. So again, I'm very happy to be here to talk about this initiative that we are carrying out. Matthew was talking about not having a context of the region, but this is a snapshot. As many of you know, about half of the workers of the region are saving for their retirement. But if we focus on freelancers, we can see that on average, only 10% of the freelancers in the region are saving for their retirement. If we compare this with the 20% that Matthew mentioned, we can see a lot of differences in the region. While in Uruguay or Chile, we see a higher percentage. In Mexico, it's not even 1% of the freelancers who are saving for their retirement. So that's how big our challenge is, and we are motivated because of this. And in the lab, we decided to focus on how we can connect the freelancers of the region. But in the time that we have been working, we realize that there are many other challenges to connect or come closer to these workers, these independent workers. I'm going to list the 3 more important obstacles that we have found. The first one is, how can we offer a solution for savings that will be adequate for the independent workers or the freelancers? And while we design something that meets their needs, how can we make this scalable? What kind of needs are we talking about? Well, independent workers or freelancers have varied income. They have very different incomes. It's the nature of their income. It's always different, which is a big difference with other employees. Many freelancers of the region have precarious work, so their income is very small. So we need to have saving solutions where they can make very small contributions, and they have to be flexible, also maybe with different regularities and not on a monthly basis. The other challenge is, okay, imagine that we have this ready, but how can we connect? It would be very inefficient to go. Where can we find them? How can we contact them in a cost-effective way? How can we contact the freelancers in a cost-effective way? You might know that the contact data of the affiliates are very bad. Many times we don't have emails, we don't have telephone numbers, we don't have their addresses. So the AFPs and regulators don't know how to find these people, how they can contact them in a cost-effective way. Also, if we have their email address, maybe in Colombia or Mexico, we can see that only 10% of the affiliates open their emails. So there's a very severe problem, serious problem here with connecting with them. And the third challenge is the freelancers' economy is cash. So when we're talking about cash economies with very low amount of people who use banks, I need to convince them that they have to save in a continuous way. They can't just save one day. That won't solve their pension problems. They need to be constant. This has to be an ongoing contribution throughout their working life. So we have to face very big challenges. And that's why in our lab, we saw that the platforms can be a very good opportunity to connect with this segment of workers who are unconnected. Keeping in mind that these segments are maybe taxi drivers, maids, also delivery people. They have usually worked in the informal market. So the platform will allow me to overcome that informality. I can contact them through the platform, and it will be easier to contact with some platforms than knocking on the different doors looking for these people. These workers are very digitalized. Their smartphone is one of their main working tools. So they are used to working with digital tools. Thirdly, they work with banks. The platforms pay them through a bank account. So that makes things easier for me to apply debit measures, debit actions. I'm going to talk to you about what we are doing now in the lab together with the University of the Pacífico de Peru. This is the platform Cabify. For those of you who don't know Cabify, it's like Uber. In other countries, outside Latin America and Spain, they don't have Cabify. As Lucas said, he was talking about 10,000 feet, above 10,000 feet, but now I'm going to go very down to the ground and say, okay, this idea, how can we land this idea? How can we put it into practice? And what are the challenges and opportunities for implementing this? The first thing we did was to apply. I have a problem here with the format of my pie, but it doesn't matter. We made a survey to 1,000 drivers. It was a very simple questionnaire. We just wanted to know their behavior with regards to savings. Also, we wanted to know about their income. And what we found out is that 65% of them say that their income is quite stable. About half of them said that they had saved in the last 12 months. However, when we asked again, they had saved in informal ways, like putting the money under their mattress or giving money to be lenders to friends and getting an interest out of that. And the main reason why they didn't save is because they feel that their income varies very much, and that they can save very little. We talked about the different tools that they could consider could help them commit to saving more, and debit cards was what they thought was the most convenient for them. They could save more in an ongoing way. So keeping in mind, first, that there was an appetite for savings, and because Cabify could help them save, we decided to design their savings solution. And what kind of what savings product would we offer them? So when we talked about how to do it, the literature of conducting sciences is very good. First of all, we need to bring their attention to save. Every day we have many thoughts in mind and we never think about saving. So first of all, we have to focus on saving. Second, we have to make it simple. Simple, we're talking about the language that we use, and simple also is about how they can register in order to save. It has to be very simple. And thirdly, it has to be automatic, and it has to be recurring so that it can go in favor of saving. So now, what product? Unfortunately, the Peruvian system for pensions is very limited for this population because their minimum contribution allowed is 10% of a minimum wage on a monthly basis, and you can't pay it in parts. It's a down payment. So this didn't give us the flexibility that we needed. So we had to choose a bank savings, a savings account in a bank. And even though it doesn't have the same benefits as a savings fund, it still gave us the flexibility that we needed. So we decided to try how much does this variability of the income play a role with regards to their decision to save money. So we designed two different pension schemes. The traditional one, which is debit, 2% of their weekly wage. So every week we deduct 2% of their weekly wage. And the other one is a debit. The other one is the Flexi Smart. This happens when the driver has a weekly income that is above their historical average. So we're not going to punish the driver in a bad week. For example, there are drivers who 1 week they might cover their basic needs and others not. So we wanted to minimize this, of the knockout of the debit, automatic debit. These are the two options that we are assessing. So what's the mechanism? First of all, we send a pop-up to the platform where the driver receives a message where it says that Cabify is inviting them to save. Then they click on this and it leads them to a video. This was working very well during the coffee break, but I think the technical issues are coming in now. Hi, partner. What happens when you have a problem with your car? You have a flat tire or you have an unforeseen problem. Do you have enough money or do you need more money? What do you do? Do you spend it on things that are not necessary? So then you start thinking, what can I do to face these problems? Where do I want to go? What do I have to do to reach my objectives? We have the solution for you. You can start saving slowly, because when you save, you're going in the right direction towards your objective. That is why Cabify and IDB come together to help you free, so that you can achieve this every week through the Responsible Digital Savings Plan. Now, just a percentage of your weekly wages are deposited in a savings account every week for you. Start your trip towards where you really want to go. What do you have to do to achieve this? First, you have to accept participating in the program. 2, go to one of the BCP kiosks and pick up your card. And ready, now you can follow up your savings from your own house or your car or wherever you are. You will have access to 100% of your savings from the very first week. Are you ready to reach your objectives? Okay, so after looking at that video, they asked them, do you want to participate in this program? Register here. They put in their data, and we opened their account at BCP, and they start depositing the money. We send them messages saying, you're doing very well, continue saving, pick up your card at the branch. So as you can see, this requires important coordination from the different players, the bank, Cabify, the drivers, the branches. So we did a pre-pilot plan to make sure that everything was working well. In this pre-pilot plan, we did it exactly the same, but with one difference, because we were offering them the locked in on-site manner. When they register on the platform, then they just follow up on the process. This is the pre-pilot that we carried out. What you can see here is the take-up rate. I wish to highlight 2 things here. The first one is that you can see a rise with regards to the acceptance of the product. There's an acceptance of the take-up. As this was on-site, there was a learning curve for Cabify when they had to offer the product. And also, at the end of the month, we reached a take-up of 28%, which is quite high for interventions with freelancers. However, we also learned that in Houston we have a problem. And the pipeline that we had constructed was now leaking. There were many things to be adjusted with regards to opening bank accounts, because there were no massive bank account openings in BCP, and this took us like 3 months. And then communication with the branches was not good, so the drivers would go to the branches and they didn't have their cards ready. So we have just been fixing all the logistics, because in June we're going to start with the platform, digital platform, with the Cabify drivers. And once we start this, we will be able to have an impact assessment to really understand the potential of offering this product in a digital way, and to see what's the result of these 2 saving schemes. Other platforms like Global, which is logistics, and Solvis, which is for maids, they want us to design something for them, so we are already undertaking discussions with them. And another important issue is to offer a product for savings, for retirement savings. Yeah, so in Mexico with Cabify, the idea savings for pensions is flexible. So we want to design something similar to that. Lessons learned, we know that the people are interested in saving. We have to rethink some of our steps, some of our designs, in order to understand their needs for flexibility, for contributing little amount of money, slowly and gradually, and to do this in an easy way. And also something that I would tell the regulators is that when we are designing policies, we always have to think about logistics. Many times we think about what, but I also think we also need to think about how when we design public policies. Many times when we talk about how, then we will find all the obstacles. And finally, we see that simple interventions can have a very good potential. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Now we have the questions session with our speakers. Do you have any question? Matthew, I'm gonna ask you something. You said that even this auto register enrollment is easy for the employer. Of course, you have a default decision made for the person. So for the employer, this means a lot of steps. Even if the employee is easier, for the employer, it's complicated. Can you tell us a little bit about the incentives that you give the employers in the UK to make this process easier, to assume this role and this work that is administrating this kind of decision? Bueno, es una pregunta muy interesante. Es muy interesante porque por un lado bueno, nunca había respondido una pregunta con música. Bueno, por un lado, como decía, no te van a multar si no lo haces. Entonces, igual, esto ha sido un incentivo suave porque la persona en relación de dependencia puede decidir si quiere hacer esta automático, pero el patrón no puede decidir, es obligatorio. Tienen que hacer una contribución automática en sus cuentas. Pero nosotros trabajamos mucho para que sea lo más fácil posible para los patrones, para los empleadores. Unas cosas que vimos en el Reino Unido es que cuando hacemos las pensiones a escala y cuando el empleador ve todo esto, ve que no es un reto tan grande en cuanto a las inversiones comparado a las nóminas. Entonces tienes una integración de la tecnología, un trabajo con todos los sistemas para los empleadores y especialmente introduciendo a estos nuevos pequeños empleadores. Cuando habíamos visto que a veces tenemos 2.000 nuevos empleadores que se están inscribiendo en Nest y que están inscribiendo a sus empleados todos los días. Entonces, eso es una experiencia que nunca hemos tenido en el mundo. Entonces, para que esto funcione, no tiene que ver solamente con los empleadores que tienen este reto día a día, sino que los proveedores lo pueden hacer por muchas personas simultáneamente. Entonces, había una parte legal obligatoria, pero también la idea era hacer más fácil el proceso. Muchas gracias. Do you have any other question? I would like to know about the use of the new platforms. What I understood is that we have this savings option. In Brazil, for example, there was one of those. We tried to do this with Uber, And have you tried doing this with Uber as well as Cabify? Yes, actually, with Uber, we have also been discussing with the IDB, but at the moment, we have not agreed on carrying out any pilot. But the idea of this is to have evidence afterwards on how this could be done with all kinds of platforms. So this is the reason why we have a big interest in working with different platforms such as Globo, since the nature of these delivery workers is totally different. One of the topics that I would like to share, and it would be cool if you have ideas. I mean, the challenge we're going to face afterwards is how sustainable this will be. That is why we like the idea of this pilot project we're going to have in Mexico with a foreign mobile, because we have to see with the return of workers and platforms, that is a turnoff. The turnover they participate in is very high. So Globo was telling us that around every 6 months, 20% of Glovers, that is delivery workers, do not longer work with them. So with this level of turnover, it has to be a saving product that even if you change platforms, your account will be your single account, that will be your AFP account. And that is when having a bank account is not a solution anymore. So we're working on that to find these solutions that will really can be translatable to the whole range of the gig economy. Para responder eso un poco, nosotros tenemos el mismo problema. Toda esta rotación de las personas que van de plataforma a plataforma, y también es muy común que alguien use varias plataformas a la vez para acceder al trabajo simultáneamente. Entonces, si ustedes trabajan en el delivery, capaz tienen muchos ingresos durante los periodos de Navidad y luego en comienzos del año es más poco, y en otras, dependiendo de la plataforma, se pueden tener diferentes ciclos de estaciones de zafra. Entonces, en el Reino Unido pasa, en otras legislaciones también, que Uber y otros proveedores están ansiosos. En realidad ellos no quieren tener más responsabilidades, no quieren otro tipo de relaciones de trabajo, porque ellos quieren ver a las personas como contratadores tercerizados, independientes. Entonces, creo que hay mucho interés también tener a terceras partes o consultores o otras organizaciones para que puedan trabajar con ellos, donde los independientes puedan seguir ahorrando yendo de una plataforma a la otra. Y eso es algo que también estamos tratando de hacer en el Reino Unido. Muchas gracias. Do you want to make any other question?
Buenos días.
Good morning. I have a question for Maria Teresa, especially how the platforms function. My doubt is, how have you seen this in an operational point of view? Because from what I heard that you have a bank behind all of this, as if it were a bank. They get the funds. You have the IDB that has been coordinating and organizing the contracts that is distributed through the platforms. So it is as if the platforms could serve to distribute the product in the target audience. So we always have a bank. How can you control not to have fake IDs or fake profiles? The bank that's also getting the money from all of these people has to know their identities. So how do you manage all of this? So we have two things here. Because of this, these are the greatest challenges we have been facing, and as you mentioned, that is why we have leakage in our pipelines, because everything related to due diligence and how the bank can assure that the driver is the person who really accepted the terms. So we have been reinforcing or for example, how to fill out their data. And that's the reason why we had to make them go to the bank and get their card. Because what the law told us, the Peruvian law, is I need to be sure that at the end, this is the right person. For us, this was good either way, because of course I'm going to have the transaction cost once they're saving, and just for them to go to the place to get the card. So I'm going to let it away the saving mechanism, and I'm not going to begin with this identification, because that would be barrier to save, an obstacle to save. But of course, it depends on every country. In the case of Mexico, I know you can do this online, 100% online, and you wouldn't ever have to go personally. So that depends on your scheme. We have the scheme of Afore Mobile. Maybe you don't know about that, but I can tell you a little bit about that later. But basically what you do is, through an app, you verify your identity digitally with your biometrical data and with your ID card. And this is protected, and you have an advantage because you ask me, do you always have to have a bank? Not really, because ideally this will go to your saving pension funds, like in the case of Mexico.
My question is for Maite. So now you are investing in a debit account for the bank. It's not really a retirement instrument, right? No, it's not. In fact, it's a savings account, a simple savings account that offers you a very small interest, but it's a completely liquid account. So the only restriction that we have is that you have to go to the bank to pick up your card. So that's just the only restriction that we have, limitation. And of course, it doesn't give the same profit that you will get in the long-term accounts. I think that the only experience I know when the funds go directly to retirement funds is in the USA with Lyft. They had a collaboration with a fintech that would provide registration and administration of savings plans, pension funds for freelancers. So when we asked them about the take-up and the interest in these plans on the part of the Lyft, we asked them if they were also thinking of having a default, a recurring payment in the accounts, and they said that this qualifies the worker, it qualifies the company that does the automatic debit as a fixed employee. So for Lyft, that was a very big problem. So you have to consider these legal aspects also when you're looking at the savings plans and schemes. Y otro tema es, me interesa mucho este tema, el tema este de tener una cuenta bancaria, ya que ahí es donde van las contribuciones. Hablé mucho yo acerca del valor de la liquidez para la población, y una de las cosas que consideramos es que capaz que podemos fomentarle más a las personas para que ahorren en sus cuentas, porque esto empezó mientras ellos pagaban en esa cuenta, pero solamente cuando llega a ese cierto balance, entonces ahí las contribuciones van a la cuenta de pensión. Y este es el desafío, porque si tenemos un monto limitado de efectivo, el tema es que la gente inmediatamente va a no querer aportar más a las pensiones porque no tienen más dinero. Cuando tú pensas en que podemos empezar con una cuenta bancaria, pero puede haber una oportunidad para tener la contribución que vaya directamente a un fondo de pensión. Muchas gracias por las muy buenas presentaciones. Y María Teresa, me gustaría hablar de cómo. La pregunta es, basada en la experiencia india, que creo que es similar a la de México. Si ustedes saben cómo es la inclusión financiera, de cómo tener la parte bancaria, luego la parte de la pensión se hace más fácil, porque si tienen que gastar mucho dinero y tiempo en lograr tener una cuenta bancaria, identificar a la persona, entonces lo pueden hacer, pero se hace muy costoso ese modelo. Entonces, me pregunto, en cuanto al mensaje de los supervisores de pensiones, si la cobertura de pensiones hay que trabajar con las personas de su país, hablando de la identidad de inclusión financiera, es algo en lo que nunca pensaríamos. Nunca hubiese pensado yo en la inclusión financiera o en la identificación, pero ahora nos damos cuenta de que sí, hay que arreglar ese problema primero y luego podemos llevar todas esas grandes ideas. Porque muchas veces la gente puede decir, bueno, hay que esperar 1 año o 2 para poder empezar. Y parece un poco aburrido eso, pero sí, hay que hacer las cosas bien al principio. Y otro pensamiento es el acceso, la accesibilidad. Hablo de Malasia y Singapur, donde tenemos 30%, tenemos acceso al 30% de nuestra pensión, pero el 70% no. Puede tener una cuenta bancaria y puede haber acceso total y de ahí se alimenta el fondo de pensión. Así que puede hacer una contribución compartida. Regarding the banking, yes, I believe that it's a joint effort to look at inclusion because saving for retirement is part of financial inclusion. So we need to design strategies together to see how we can put these people in the banking system and foster automatic debits. Regarding having different cards, when we were designing the Cabify project in Peru, we were asking ourselves, was it worth opening another account? Because what we are doing is mental accounting. We're just dividing the money and saying, this is a little bag, this is my little bag of savings for other things. But in fact, it's an artificial division of the product because it's an identical product as a checking account. Regarding the regulators, I don't think anybody here is a regulator, so I don't think I can answer that. Do you wish to say anything? Bueno, con respecto al tema de la diversificación, estoy de acuerdo de que para lograr un acceso totalmente abarcativo para el sistema de pensión con muy pocos niveles de fricción, van a haber gente con pocos ingresos, con bajos ingresos, que van a tener dificultades, pero hay soluciones para esto, para que puedan entrar al sistema. Pero no queremos esperar a tener todo en su lugar para recién empezar a ofrecer esto. Queremos que se pueda identificar a las personas de forma fácil. En el Reino Unido sí, por lo menos. Ahí la tecnología financiera es muy buena. La verificación en línea de las identidades es muy buena. Utilizan diferentes formas de datos en línea que da permiso al acceso para que sea algo muy fácil y rápido y se puedan abrir cuentas bancarias muy rápidamente. En cuanto a la regulación de los productos de pensiones, no somos abogados, no somos defensores de introducir la liquidez a un elemento del sistema de pensión. Y la razón es que no nos parece que cuando hablamos de la complejidad de múltiples productos, esta es un área donde la tecnología financiera se está moviendo muy rápidamente. Por eso tenemos soluciones híbridas, donde ya hay categorías de productos bien categorizadas. Y se saben las necesidades de los individuos, tener cuentas con liquidez, también una cuenta de pensión con liquidez. Es cuando decimos, si no está roto, no lo arregles. Lo que funciona, funciona. una de las cosas que la industria de la tecnología financiera está haciendo muy bien sus cosas. Nosotros hoy queremos probar formas de hacer que el dinero se mueva efectivamente entre los diferentes productos. Y en vez de ir para atrás y leer todas las legislaciones de impuestos, definitivamente hay alternativas. Simplemente esta es una respuesta para el Reino Unido. Si podemos probar que podemos juntar varios productos, creo que va a ser mucho más fácil para los reguladores. I would like to make a comment. In Latin America, and we insist on having liquidity, at least some liquidity in our products, our savings products. We believe it's important. And maybe this is very specific to Latin America. And in our lab, we think that one of the big obstacles that we have in Latin America is that there's no trust in the financial system, in the formal financial system, and especially, and why? Well, we have very long crisis in the history, and people do not trust the financial system, and allow people to access their savings, at least a little bit of their savings sometimes. This will raise trust in people. The money that is in the AFPs or the pension funds is your money. So the idea is that you should leave that money there for some time, but that you can have access to it during your retirement phase. But we have to work a lot on trust with these workers who are more excluded, because when you ask them about this, they say no, because the banks rob my money, the AFPs rob my money, they keep the money, they don't give it to me. And in Peru, for example, it's very easy to have access to the funds. The AFPs have become very popular now. Peru went to the opposite side of this. You can take all your money away if you want. You can take all your money out. So that excludes the pension system, but there are limited possibilities of having access to your funds, because I think that can help foster the trust in the financial system.
Bueno, quería responder un poco sobre eso. Los retos que vemos es que hay demasiadas liquidez en este producto de pensiones. Mi jefe estaría totalmente frustrado con eso, porque en realidad ese marco de 40 a 50 años, la parte de la liquidez y toda la cartera de inversiones es muy pobre. Entonces, uno de los beneficios, capaz que es como el sistema de Singapur, donde hay unas porciones, unos porcentajes de toda la cuenta que puede ser líquida. Eso es predecible. Entonces, así puede funcionar. Sé que hacer que la pensión tenga mucha más liquidez para hacerlo más popular. No es el caso de Estados Unidos o el de Reino Unido, pero el 40% no es algo óptimo en cuanto a los costos administrativos o estratégicos. Y esa es una razón por la que en realidad nos gusta tener diferentes productos teniendo diferentes objetivos. I would like to make a comment. First of all, I would like to congratulate Maria Teresa and her team. I think these kind of alternatives that are actually given access to people through smartphones, this is totally customized. We're always going to have communication with people. I think this is a great tool that will allow us to connect people with their own goals regarding pensions. So nowadays people are not thinking, or they don't have any easy access to this kind of savings, and I think that this kind of approach or solutions are really key. And also commenting on the question that Matthew made regarding what would be the best ways of trying to do this automatic enrollment, then I would like to mention an idea that we have been discussing with Professor Arun and some other researchers. I think he has discussed also with Jose Antonio, and there's a way of trying to generate this auto enrollment. It could be giving people the possibility to convert one part of their VAT into pension saving. So on one side, if you tell people, okay, you are making a voluntary saving and you cannot have access to that, they're not going to like that. They're going to say, why? This is my money. Why can I have access? People are going to hate that. They don't like to lose control. But when I am conversion, what part of my taxes, either way, VAT has been deducted from me. So I'm going to take that money. It's not tax anymore. It's going to be saving for pensions, maybe retirement selfies. These are either way income for the government. So this does not change anything to the government because they're getting the same amount of money. But for the person, this changes in their mind because they have the way of seeing I can transform taxes into pension funds. So selfies would not just have this advantage for governments and people, but also this is a saving that is connected, this is a strategy connected to the phase of decumulation. These are the strategies we have been discussing before that are based on having retirement selfies, for example, or risk assets that are connecting the management of assets with the accumulation phase with the accumulation phase. So this is very important for not to have just a little return that doesn't take into consideration the needs of the person in the future. So this is one idea we wanted to tell you to know what you think about or what kind of problems would you see in that. Thank you. I think this is a very interesting idea. It's very important to explore that. But how to sell this innovation, it's important. How to sell this to the population, especially within low earners that are going to have more of, they're going to see more an effect of VAT increase. But talking about this, so this discount is going to turn into an asset for you in the future. So I think this is promising. I don't know if you have any comment. Sí, sería interesante escuchar sobre esta práctica. Sí, es interesante sobre esta pérdida de ingreso, buscar maneras para evitarlo. Yo creo que me gustaría escuchar más sobre ese trabajo. Do we have time for another one? For another question, right? We don't? Okay. So we would like to thank the audience and speakers. Thank you very much.